Hello, everyone. Welcome to Touchdown on True Sports, brought to you by Pickups, your everything on demand delivery app. My name is Chantal Alicia, and I'm going to be your host for today's show. Joining me today are my analysts, Nolan Kangas, Luca Moya, and Stephen Platten. Today, we're going to be discussing everything that happened in Week 8 and give you some insight on what's to come in Week 9. So we had a lot of really good players showcase their individual talents this weekend, starting with some of our running backs. And I would say there's one guy in particular that really stole the show on Sunday afternoon, and that was Dalvin Cook. Like, what a game he had against Green Bay with 4 touchdowns. So my question is, Nolan, where do you value the importance of a running back in reference to other positions? And are you on board with your team paying them big, big money?
Yeah, so I think this is like a topic that's been, discussed for maybe the past 3 or 4 years now of, do you pay a running back? And I know, Stephen, you mentioned this last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago when we were talking about Derrick Henry, saying, hey, if you pay a guy big bucks and they can deliver like that, maybe it works for a team. I'm going to say in most cases, I wouldn't pay a running back. And it's tough for me to say. Being a Vikings fan, Dalvin Cook has his career day. Did I think they were going to beat the Packers? No. Did he single-handedly beat the Packers? Yes. But I just look at all these teams that have won Super Bowls, and, we think of our favorite teams. We haven't really seen it very often. Luca, on the other hand, has. And who's been the running backs there? It's a revolving door. Consistently, it's a different guy. So I think, honestly, I wouldn't pay a running back because I think you get them on that rookie contract, and I know it hurts. It sucks. That's the process. That's a business. Is you get these running backs on a rookie deal where they're making $2 million to $4 million max for that contract. And on other occasions, you think of a guy like Aaron Jones right now. He's making, what, 600, 700,000 after being, a fifth-round pick a few years back. And he's looking to get paid eventually. But you think the Packers just took A.J. Dillon in the second round this year. It's just this consistent thing that keeps happening is they get these guys, use them for 4 years, they get their touches, they get their touchdowns, they look really, really great, but we can't give him money because we have to spend money on more important positions. 1, a quarterback, obviously. 2, you need somebody to protect that quarterback, whether it's a left tackle, a right tackle, you pay a guard like Quentin Nelson, and then you have to get somebody to get after the opponent's quarterback, a pass rusher. Aaron Donald gets paid, Khalil Mack gets paid, and somebody to stop those quarterbacks from throwing all over the field on you. So you pay Jalen Ramsey, you pay Stephon Gilmore, right? So you think of all these other positions that are way more important than a running back. Think of the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, they spent a first-round pick on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but I guarantee you they are not going to pay him big bucks. They already have Mahomes under a contract. Kelsey's getting up there in age. Tyreek Hill's been paid. Sammy Watkins, he actually took less money to stay there. And that defense is coming around, but still they need to add more pieces. And look at these. These are the running backs right now who have the highest average annual value in money. Christian McCaffrey, teams 3 and 5. Ezekiel Elliott, teams 2 and 5. Alvin Kamara, he's an outlier. Right, he is an outlier. Their team's 5 and 2. David Johnson, they're 1 and 6. Dalvin Cook, they're 2 and 5. Derrick Henry, another one, they're 5 and 2. How about Kenyon Drake? They're 5 and 2. He hasn't even really been the main back there right now. It's kind of been Chase Edmonds, who's been really looking terrific there in Arizona. Melvin Gordon, they're 3 and 4. Saquon Barkley, injured, of course, they're 1 and 7. Austin Eckler, he's injured, they're 2 and 5. Think of these other teams and the amount of money they're paying their running back. Bills, under $1 million. Steelers, under $1 million. Titans, obviously Derrick Henry, $12.5 million. Chiefs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, highest paid rookie, $2.7 million. Eagles, Miles Sanders, rookie contract, $1.3 million. Packers, Aaron Jones, $650,000. Ronald Jones, $1.7 million. And Chris Carson, $600,000. You don't need to pay them. It hurts me to say that because, back in the day, these guys deserve to get paid. And yes, they do. But if you want to have a winning football team, that's not the way you want to do it.
No, I agree with you, Nolan, on everything you said, man. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it for going down the line. It is what we've seen, and it's because as running backs age and they decline faster than other positions, really, like the wide receivers don't go through this. You can never have wide receiver be, 35, 36, still getting his touches. But those 35, 36-year-old running backs, with the exceptions of like Adrian Peterson and what's it called? I like to call him the time stone. Frank Gore. We've seen this guy kick around for a long time, and they've actually, they produced at a certain level, but it hasn't been the same as when they had them at their top tier, right? And the thing it comes down to, with running back, it's such an open position. There's so few generational talents that we see coming out of the college level that it's easy for these guys to go back and, you can really pick out like a Saquon Barkley, a Christian McCaffrey, and save these guys. But when it really breaks down to it, look at both of them. They've missed the majority of his season right now. And if you want them to be your number one running back and pay them top dollars, the best ability is availability. And it seems like when you're paying certain running backs, they get injured so fast that they're going out of the game, going out for seasons sometimes, and you're not even seeing what they're really worth. Like Saquon, we've seen him in spurts. He's been injured pretty much every season that he's been in the league. We haven't gotten to see a full season from Saquon. And it hurts on that level when you're looking at, you want to pay these running back top dollar, but are they really staying healthy? And I think health is one of the biggest things. But when I look at the running back position now, it's really broken down into two schools of thoughts, I think. It's the value and youth that it's really broken down into, right? Because in the NFL landscape, we're saying maybe like 20 years ago, when you had running backs or before that, Jim Brown or Bo Jacksons or your Barry Sanders, these guys were your workhorse backs. Like, you could trust them to do everything on the field that you need them to do, and they would get it done. The problem now is that those guys would age out of the game. Now it's like these teams can't keep running backs until they're after about 26, 27. You want to trade and trade up to a younger age. It's like last year, the top 10 rushers all had an average age of 24. So if you're thinking about that and you're staying young within running back, what's the sense of paying a guy who's turning 26, 27, 28, paying him after his rookie contract to come and bring you something that you could probably just, like you said, Chris Carson, 650 is what you said, Nolan?
It's actually 616,000.
616. Think about that. You don't have to pay a guy, the $12 million that the Titans are paying Derrick Henry. I mean, he gives you what you need, but you could probably go and get that from three guys and put them together, and it'll still give you those yards. It's just you're using three guys to bring different looks to every team. And that's where the running back by committee has really taken a step up in the league. Like most teams, like you said, the Patriots, look at that. Look at the running back by committee they have there. The championship seasons, Rex Burkhead, Sony Michel, James White, and all three of them are bringing exactly what you need from having one workhorse running back. They're bringing that production across that level. And all of those guys, no matter, even if one of them is in their 30s or one of them's in the 20s, one of them's in the early 20s, mid-20s, when you look at them as the squad and look at how they're moving, the production that they're giving is enough to be like just enough as one running back, and it can hurt the game like that. I don't want to say it's hurt the game, but it's hurt the running back pocket. Like, you cannot trust running backs. Look at Todd Gurley. He is the prime example. They paid him all that money over there, and he's not even with the team anymore. And he doesn't even get used as a workhorse running back anymore. So what's the point of paying them that much? Like, I don't know where else to look within everything. You already brought up Kate. I was going to bring up the Kansas City thing about how they did the same thing. They haven't paid a running back in the millions. They're paying everyone in the lower money to keep guys around, have your Tyreek Hills, have your Travis Kelce's there, have a strong offensive line, have defense. I'm going to say it right now. It's a sad reality, but I don't think from here on out, if I was a GM, I wouldn't be paying these running backs that top dollar. If they want that top dollar, I'm sorry, we're going to move on. Either we're going to trade you or you're going to go in free agency, but we're going to build young and we're going to keep building that way, and it's going to be that way for further down the line in the future for the NFL.
When you look at this position, it's more of a luxury than like a necessity. You know what I mean? Like, you have a top running back. They do the things that, not a lot of guys can do. It's great. But you guys touched on it, right? If you can have a committee of guys, like you saw the Saints with Ingram and Kamara, 1-2 punch. I mean, that was fantastic. They haven't had that, since Ingram left. Murray's a nice little replacement there. But you can get two guys to fill in the offense. You saw Tampa, what they're doing, Fournette and Jones. I think when you look at the NFL, there's been three, maybe not even three. I think there's been two running backs where I can honestly sit back and say, okay, he is worth every penny, and he is an impactful player on the offense. Number one, Le'Veon Bell with the Steelers. I think we can agree he was the best player probably. He was fantastic. When he got the ball over 20 touches a game, they were like something like 20-0, something crazy like that. So I think him. And you look at Derrick Henry. I think those are the only two you can see, the only two running backs in the last maybe 5 years where you can be like, you know what, they need this kind of production. Now you see Bell go. You see the Steelers are 7-0. Obviously, they didn't need him, but you saw how much they were hurt last year without Ben. They could have probably used a guy like Bell. But again, it's all about the guys in front of you. I'm going to say it. I said it with Derrick Henry a couple weeks ago. If that offensive line can create holes for you, I don't care what running back you put back there, you can rush for a lot of yards in this league if you have 5 guys in front of you who are pushing guys 3 yards off the line. And so when you look at that and you go based off of that, it's more important for me to pay, one, your quarterback, obviously, he controls the game, the 5 guys in front of you, and then you need to stop people, because if you're down by 30 points, the running back becomes irrelevant. So you got to worry about the other side of the ball, right, as well, like Nolan pointed out with the defense. So I think right now you have to look at the running back position. This league has turned into a more pass-happy league over the last 10 years. And so wide receiver, even tight end, I think can be maybe argued to be more valuable because, yeah, they catch, but they also block as well for the running back. So I think when you look at all of that, the running back is more of a luxury. You have a great one, great. Can you put your team over the hump? Maybe, but he's not necessarily a need for your team. And you just see what the Chiefs, like Helaire, like he's good, but like they don't need him. They don't really need Helaire. Just like Bell, we were talking about a couple weeks ago. They don't need him. They would just maybe put them over the top. But it doesn't mean you're going to change your whole dynamic of your offense and of your team if you have an elite running back. So I think to overpay guys like that, unless you're getting unbelievable production, like maybe with Bell, maybe like Derrick Henry, I can see. Other than that, I don't think I would spend north of 10 to 15 million on a guy in the backfield.
If I can, there's going to be those outlier seasons, like Adrian Peterson's MVP year, where he just takes off, and it's like we kind of have to give him more money now because he just carried us to the playoffs. But Steven, you mentioned this guy's name. Everybody loves him, Saquon Barkley. I think, and you guys can touch on this if you want, the Giants are going to be a really, really interesting team come draft time, because you got to decide, is Daniel Jones the guy, or if we're drafting in that 1 to 5 range, do we take a Justin Fields? Do we take a Trey Lance? Do you take someone like that and say, we're done with the turnovers. We need to change direction here. But what about Saquon Barkley? I think it was the highest running back rookie contract in NFL history. He's going to want money soon. He can't stay healthy on the field. Do you say, it's not worth it? Do we trade him, get a pick or 2, and say, let's build this offensive line. Let's get some pass rushers finally. Let's get a linebacker to stop the run. I honestly think that could be happening for the Giants eventually, because they have to figure this team out. Because is it Daniel Jones? Is he the issue? Is Saquon Barkley the issue? Is it, was it Odell Beckham? There's so many issues around this team. They have to figure it out, and it might be eventually trading Saquon Barkley and getting some picks back and deciding not to pay him.
Ding, ding, ding. That's the answer. I won't stick on it too long, but that's the answer right there. It all breaks down to the injuries, right? And running back is probably the highest injured position in the NFL. So when you're breaking it down, if I can go find other running backs to do this job and they can fulfill that position, I can try to get some value before Saquon before anything else happens. Definitely, they need to do that.
And those are all great points, guys. I mean, running backs make up 10% of any football team, right? And as we know, all positions in a football team are crucial. But I think as Nolan mentioned earlier, the most essential role on any football team is the quarterback. So let's for a moment take a look at some of our rookie quarterbacks. We've got Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, both on top and in line for the Rookie of the Year award. So if you were given the job of GM for a team, right? Every QB is available. How many QBs and who would you select before Herbert or Burrow to be your signal caller on your team? Steven, tell us your thoughts about that.
I don't even think this is that difficult to really map out. It's kind of honest, and I'm going to be very honest with this. If you're a QB who's pretty much under 35 to me, you have a shot of being someone who I would want to take over one of these two. These older guys, yeah, it's cool. I could have a Ben Roethlisberger, a Tom Brady, a Drew Brees right now. But honestly, if I'm a GM, I'm not thinking that way, because those guys are going to give me maybe at most 3 to 4 years, maybe. Some of them maybe 1 or 2, and that's about it. Drew Brees is probably none. Anyways, but moving on, like you really look at, you say these younger quarterbacks who are in the league, who am I really going to want over Herbert or over a Burrow? I think it would be definitely, obviously, Mahomes, number one. Your Jackson, you can fit him in there, even though he's been looking kind of suspect this whole season within the passing game. Questionable at times. I'm not sure what's going on with him. And he's not really using his legs as often as he did last season, but that's okay. I'd still take him just with the talent level. Russell Wilson, this man has a Super Bowl under the belt. He's, 31 years old. So he's right in that middle line where you'd want your quarterback to be, so you could have him for another maybe 5 to 6 years on top of that. It might cost you, but that's okay. Kyler Murray, of course, the young boy. I like what he's doing out there. Imagine him in a couple of years, what he could really turn into. Deshaun Watson, young guys. Josh Allen. Josh Allen was the one who I really questioned. I didn't know if he looks like he can be that talent, that guy. But at the same time, I look at Herbert, I look at Burrow, and I look at where their starting point is and where his starting point was. And I think they might be a bit ahead of him. But you know what? I'm going to give Josh Allen the benefit of the doubt because he's been in the league for a few years. So I would take him over one of these two right now. And last on that list for me to take, I would definitely take a Dakota Prescott on my team. I know he's hurt or he's injured, but I think he's the type of quarterback you can manage around and build nicely around. The money thing is an issue for me because I don't know about that 35, 40 million that he wants to sit on and carry in his pocket. That's not something that I can really sit with. But as a quarterback, I think I would take Prescott over the two of them. If I'm looking at other quarterbacks in the league, like your Wentz, your Newtons, your Cousins, your Tannehills, your Goffs, and your Staffords, those guys are the middling guys. I don't really want to start building a team around you in that sense. I'd much rather more so want to build around Burrow or Herbert, but those guys, they're manageable. But no matter which way you look at it, manageable isn't something that you want to take over a rookie that has potential and talent. So that potential and talent goes a long way to show that just these manageable guys aren't going to cut it. So it's easy for that line to be cut. Those younger guys who are playing right now, who are blowing up in the league, those are the guys who you still take over these two. Those older statesmen, those guys who are, middling and they've had strong careers, someone like a Matt Ryan, like you've been an MVP, but if I'm sitting back and honestly looking at it, you and those two aren't in the same level. So you know where I stand on that.
All right. So you actually included more names than I thought, Steven, because my list, 4. I think there's only 4.
Okay.
Mahomes, obvious. Wilson,
Yeah.
obvious. I still think Deshaun Watson, even though they're having a pretty bad year, we've seen what he can do. And when he actually has a number 1 wide receiver, how dominant he is, even with how awful that offensive line is. And Kyler Murray. Those are the only 4. I left Lamar Jackson off. And here's the reason why. I think we're seeing the NFL figuring him and the offense out a bit. Yes, he doesn't have the greatest wide receiver, talent there. But when they trail games, can he win games and come from behind with his arm? We haven't seen it yet. And that's my only issue. Yes, unbelievable runner. I was too young to really see Mike Vick dominate in his ATL days. And whether him and Lamar, who you want to pick, who's faster, who's more elusive as a quarterback, pick whoever you want. But we haven't seen, I haven't personally seen somebody run like a quarterback like Lamar can. But the throwing isn't there for me yet. I can see the talent from Justin Herbert, bombing at 60 yards. I can see the way, the poise and presence that Joe Burrow has in the pocket, keeping 2 hands on the ball, running around, juking out Jadeveon Clowney, and then throwing it downfield for a first down. We haven't seen that from Lamar yet. Yeah, we see it, once in a while where he runs around and then he escapes for a first down. I don't know. Yes, he's still young. I need to see the arm improve a little bit. Because we're not seeing that right now. We're still seeing some turnovers. Yes, that was Pittsburgh's defense, who's absolutely incredible. Yes, the Ravens ran for over, 240 yards on them on the ground. But the passing isn't there yet. Josh Allen, he was great, had a great start to this year, and he's tailing off a little bit. Dak, it's still hit or miss for me. What we're seeing from Burrow and what we're seeing from Herbert is incredible. If you asked me a couple of weeks back, maybe I would have been biased and said Justin Jefferson's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. But, man, these guys are impressing. The Tennessee Titans, I think they were 4th on my power rankings last week. They're plummeting down because Joe Burrow had quite the day. And he was dealing with it. against a really good offense. And the Bengals defense is terrible. And somehow he kept them in the game and ends up beating them by, 10 points or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
I like, you know what name I was going to squeak in here? And I know it would have been really, really bold. I was going to say Trevor Lawrence, even though he's never even played a snap. I was going to do it. I'm pretty excited to see this guy play, but I don't know. My list is limited right now. Mahomes, Wilson, and Watson, I think, are pretty obvious. Kyler Murray, we've seen some things from him where he has that running ability like Lamar, not as elusive, but he can still, escape for that first down. But, man, his arm is wild. Lamar can throw some heat, but, man, Kyler can throw some touch too. So that's why I put him just a step above right now of Herbert and Burrow. But once Herbert gets that O-line, once Burrow gets an O-line, it's game over. These guys are going to be superstars.
Got the exact same list. The exact same list. I don't think there's any debate. I can't put Lamar there. I just can't do it. Coming out, I was skeptical of him. Yeah, last season, great, fantastic year. But I mean, this is what we're seeing. This is what we know, and we know Lamar's arm is not up to par with other guys in the league. And it was evident on Sunday. They needed him to come back, couldn't do it. Against the Chiefs, they needed him to come back. He had a whole half to do it, couldn't get anything going. So I think right now Lamar, exciting player. There's no doubt he's an exciting player. He can change a whole offense. You have to scheme around him. You got a game plan for him, and for that, when you have to do it for a quarterback like that, no doubt, generational talent. When you're talking about pure thrower of the football, he does not come close to even Herbert or Burrow, in my opinion. And Kyler Murray has more touch, like Nolan said. And I think the first one you said, Deshaun Watson, fantastic. Even though he's playing with a bad team, he had a bad GM, just absolutely give away his probably one of the best receivers we've seen in the league for the last 5 years for not even a first-round pick. And then you trade him for a running back who we just talked about isn't as valuable as we all think they are. So really, that was just a mind-boggling trade. But Deshaun Watson, of course, he's still there. And then, the first two, obviously, Mahomes and Wilson. I just think, what you've seen from Burrow, what you've seen from Herbert. Herbert, for me, I say it every single week, he surprises me every single time he steps onto the field. I did not think he was going to be this good. I really didn't, but he is showing me something. Now, when you look at both of these guys and you look now, is Herbert just a product of the offense because he's got weapons everywhere? He's got absolute weapons everywhere. Eckler's hurt, and he's still putting up numbers. The running backs are still doing their thing. Keenan Allen, underrated receiver in this league. I think he should be more respected. And Mike Williams, you put a jump ball with him, he's probably catching it 9 out of 10 times, right? So you put a guy like that, an exciting young tight end in Hunter Henry. They've got Guyton, who's coming out of nowhere. He's playing good football as well. So I think right now, when you look at that, is he a product of the offense? Maybe, but we got to go with what we know. And what we know is Burrow's on the Bengals, Herbert's on the Chargers, and what they're doing for those teams are fantastic. I love the upside of both of these players. And like you said, I've never seen a rookie quarterback with this much hype come into the league like this since Andrew Luck. And Joe Burrow is really coming in here. And he just looks – every time I turn him on, he's just waiting. He knows his O-line's going to give him maybe 1 second. He just stands in there and delivers a dart. So I think when you look at both of these guys, the way they can throw the football over Lamar, over Allen, like Steven said, he had a great start to the year, but he's slowly starting down. He's slowly becoming the Josh Allen that we've seen in the past. Not going to give up on him totally yet, but the four guys, I think now Murray, Watson, Mahomes, and Wilson are the only guys I would take over him. And again, the age. They're just so young, and they're just doing great things in the league. These guys are going to be probably contending. I could see them contending in an AFC championship game down the road if Mahomes obviously gets hurt maybe 1 year and these guys sneak in. But as long as Mahomes is healthy, he's probably going to the AFC championship game every year. So these two guys are going to be exciting to watch for years to come, but there's no one really I would take over them but those four guys.
That's awesome, guys. I am so happy that you guys put Kyler Murray on your list. He's definitely on my top list too. So we've talked a lot about talented players so far. So we're just going to take it one step further. And so my question is, Luca, who do you think is going to regret not making a trade by the deadline?
I think it's the Tennessee Titans, Chantel. And you look at the Titans in their division, the Colts are creeping up on them. You had a 5-0 start, but it doesn't matter because right now you're 0-2 in your last 2 games. And now the Colts are tied for the division lead. They obviously still have to play each other. I think right now the offense, I think it's pretty good. You got Derrick Henry. We all know what he could do. The pass catchers, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith. They got guys who can make plays on the offensive side of the football. And Ryan Tannehill, we've seen that he could play at an elite level sometimes when he has to. but it's the defense. And I'm going specifically to that pass rush. They paid Jadeveon Clowney a lot of money. He has 1 forced fumble, 0 sacks, and 7 tackles this season. 11 tackles this season. That is not what you want for a highly regarded free agent who sat out. You thought this guy can really put the defense over the top. And yeah, they do get stops when they need. But you need to go out there and you got to solidify this. You're a contending team in this league. You're a field goal away from taking Pittsburgh, who's undefeated, to overtime, right? You beat Kansas City. I know it was last year, but you did beat Kansas City last year in the regular season and the AFC Championship game. It was pretty close until Mahomes kind of took over the game. So you can see that they're not to the part of elite teams, even though we've all been putting them in the top 5. But you can see now they're struggling. I think they really needed to make a trade at the deadline. You let a guy like Burrow. Yeah, it's Burrow. We think he's great, but it's still the Bengals, guys. And the Bengals aren't a very good team. And you saw the defense give up 31 points. This is a team that, like the Ravens, they're meant to play with the lead. Because if they can get the running game going, that just opens up the whole playbook with the play-action game and the receivers going down the field, getting the tight ends involved. So this is a team that needs to play with the lead, and you can't play with the lead if your defense is giving up points and not getting off the field. So I think they really need to go for a guy. I think, Nolan, you hit it spot on. We did the predictions. I think they need to go for a guy like Ryan Kerrigan. I think that really would have helped their defense. But I think Tennessee is really regretting it right now because the AFC is competitive this year. Even though there are 7 teams, there are a lot of AFC teams that we all think could make some noise. And if these guys don't win their division, they have a lot of trouble. They might slip out of the playoffs after such a good start. So I think Tennessee is going to regret this.
Well, with Tennessee, I liked how they made the trade for Desmond King, but I really thought they needed to make another move. And Desmond King only fixes so much on the back end. And then they released Vic Beasley. That obviously whole situation didn't really work out at all. For me, I'm going to pick on an NFC North team. It's the Packers. But the Packers and the Houston Texans. And for this, they were talking. Will Fuller, the whole entire time. Will Fuller's going to go to Green Bay. They're going to find a deal, and they didn't. And, whether it's a GM now in Houston who said he wanted a first-rounder for Will Fuller, that is bold. That is bold. And then he said he wanted a second. Okay, I understand that. Here's the thing, Houston. You don't have a first-round pick. Your second-round pick is, now which was the Cardinals pick. That's going to be near the tail end of the second round. You don't have a first or a second. You're drafting late now. You're drafting in the 60s, right? So for me, why wouldn't you just go collect more picks? Will Fuller doesn't want to be there. Guess where Will Fuller is going to be playing next year? Probably not in Houston because he's a free agent. And he was tweeting. He says, when's this going to happen? When am I going to get moved? Well, I guess you're going to have to wait because he's going to be out the door. But the Packers, we saw what happened against the Vikings. Devontae Adams was getting covered by Eric Kendricks and whatever corner they could throw at him. Marquez Valdes-Scantling isn't there yet. Yes, I like Alan Lazard. They need another piece. They need another player. Are they going to wait for the free agency class next year? Perhaps. There is some good names. You're probably not going to take 34-year-old A.J. Green. T.Y. hasn't really been doing it. There is a Corey Davis. The Titans, they declined his 5th-year option. That's an intriguing name. Will Fuller, like I mentioned. Juju Smith-Schuster. He's a free agent. They have Chase Claypool. They have Deontay Johnson. They can end up drafting a receiver in any round and then seemingly turn him into a superstar. There's going to be names there. But Aaron Rodgers is getting older and getting older and getting older, and that Super Bowl is eventually going to fade away, right? So I don't know why they didn't make a move when it was right there on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was debating talking about Green Bay because I thought that was a travesty that they didn't get him. But that's a lot. A first-round pick or a second round for Will Fuller? I couldn't convince myself to do that. The team I looked at was Cincinnati. And I know Cincinnati, actually, they did make a trade in sending Dunlap over to Seattle because this man didn't want to be there anymore. But I also thought it would have been smart for them if they were willing to do that and just make that move. Why not do the same thing with John Ross at the same time? Yeah. Like, why not just flip him to whatever team wants him for a late 6th, late 7th round pick? Just get him out of there because he was complaining. He hasn't been playing. He's been pushed off the depth chart pretty much by T. Higgins, who's now the main guy over there, who looks to have a great relationship with Joe Burrow. But for Ross, he's just there on the sideline, frustrated, not doing anything. It would have made sense for the Bengals to just find a team. You know what? Whoever over here, I'm not sure who, maybe even a Green Bay, but it's not John Ross. The problem with John Ross that we've seen, he's been injury prone. And on top of that, when he's been on the field, it's been here and there. He's had these big splashes and then weeks of nothing else at all after that. So I mean, it's hard to get rid of from a team, but I'm sure there's a team that'd be willing to take him. I mean, even some to the Patriots for some 7th-round pick in 2 years or something like that. Luca, you wouldn't have liked having him? You wouldn't like to have the John Ross over there?
I like any receiver.
Any receiver, exactly. So why not just move him to another team and get him out of there, or even pick up a developmental player, something like that, anything, because we already know as soon as the season ends, he's walking either way. So I guess it's a lose-lose for both of them. So that's what it breaks down to when we look at it. It doesn't matter. They didn't move it. They didn't move him. He didn't get moved, but whatever. Who cares? But I still think they should have gotten rid of him just because.
And those are all great points, guys. I mean, when you have the opportunity to better your team, it's like you have to stack up and take advantage of the trades that you can get. So that's going to bring us to our top 5 power ranking teams after week 8, heading into week 9. So I'm going to get us started here. At number 5, guys, I've got Tampa Bay. They barely won that game the other night against the Giants. So last week they were 3, today they're 5. Number 4, Baltimore. Great game against Pittsburgh, really competitive game. They just couldn't manage to bring home the win, but they're still a top 5 team. Number 3, I have the Seahawks. Great game against San Fran. That was a really exciting game to watch. Number 2, first time all season, I put Kansas City at number 2. I mean, they're still a top 5 team. It's just that they played the worst team in the league. We knew that game was going to be a blowout. And I had to open up my number 1 spot to Pittsburgh. Undefeated, 7-0, fantastic all around. I really think that they could be a competitor in the Super Bowl this upcoming for this season.
Yeah. This top 5 is kind of tough because there are teams that lost and there's teams that won. You don't know, right? I was really debating putting the Cardinals up here. I'm going to be really honest with you guys, but they didn't play a game, so it's not like I can move them up. I'm going to keep Baltimore in here at 5. They played a pretty good game against the Steelers. Last play of the game, it came down to that. Lamar, if he can improve, they're still a good team, and Lamar's arm isn't quite there yet, but they're still a good team on both sides of the football. Number 4, I'm going to move Tampa down. They barely escaped. That was a pass interference call. I love Tom Brady, but I can't be biased for this one. That was pass interference, and I'll stick by that, and I lost fantasy because of it. So we're going to move on. Number 3, I got the Seahawks. I got the Seahawks because it was between them and Kansas City. I just like the Seahawks against San Francisco, going against a rival. They did well, and it wasn't a close game like Seattle's. Seattle will get into close games for some reason and always pull it out. They dominated without Carson. I think they're good there. Number 3. Number 2, Kansas City. They played the Jets, but they absolutely blew them out. They didn't hold back. They didn't downgrade their opponent. They went out there and they killed them. That's what we all thought they were going to do, and that's what they did. And number 1, only undefeated left in the NFL, Pittsburgh Steelers. They got both sides of the ball clicking right now. Claypool, Johnson, Smith, Schuster, and then the defense. We all know what they can do. So I got Pittsburgh still in there at number 1.
You know what? This was really, really tough. And it seemingly gets tough every single week when, all these teams lose and, they beat these other teams. So at 5, it was tricky. I considered Baltimore. I want to see them really defeat a good team. I even considered the Colts because their defense has been so terrific. 5, I'm going to put the Arizona Cardinals because I know it's shocking. They didn't play. I get they didn't play. They beat the Seahawks. And for me, this offense, when they are clicking, they're one of the best offenses in football. Their defense, we've seen what they can do. 3 turnovers to Russell Wilson. That's so rare. And they made him look really poor and make him make awful decisions in that game. So I think when they're at their best, they are one of the best teams. I need to see Baltimore step it up. I need to see Indianapolis explode on offense. It was against Detroit. Come on. I could care less about that. At 4, I actually put the Buccaneers. I moved them down. Giants, blow them out. I think this is one of these games where you have a tough game, against the Packers, you blow them out. You have a game against the Raiders, you blow them out. And you're thinking, it's a Giants, it's a stinker. We're going to beat them by 25. And here's a team that says, everybody's counting us out. Everybody's counting us out. Let's just play our hearts out. The Giants did that. They had a really good game. The Buccaneers defense really disappointed me. You shouldn't be allowing yards like that to Wayne Gallman Jr. and, allowing basically Sterling Shepard to run all over you in certain routes. Guys, cover that stuff up. It was kind of bad to me. That's why I moved them down to 4, but still really talented team. 3, Seattle. guys, I didn't expect that against the Niners. They torched them. The Niners look bad. The Niners are going to be out of the race. There's my Super Bowl NFC team. They are done with the Garoppolo injury and now the Kittle injury. 2, Chiefs, terrific. It's the Jets. I don't care. 1, Pittsburgh Steelers, best defense in football. Their offense is clicking. James Conner, I really didn't think he was going to have a good year this season. I thought Anthony McFarland or Benny Snell was going to take his job. That's how bad James Conner was last season. He's been really great, and he's really turned it around. The Steelers are the number 1 team in football right now, guys.
Okay. So it looks like we're all going to have a different team at that number 5 spot. For me, this week, I put the New Orleans Saints there. I don't care that you had a tough time with the Bears or whatever happened. You guys got the W, and not all that mattered to me. Michael Thomas should be coming back healthy soon. You guys should be on your way up. Keep your defense. Your defense needs to make a couple more moves, but we'll see where they go. Number 4, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yo, tough win, man. Against the Giants? That's a question mark. I don't know about all that nonsense. Number 3, we got the Seattle Seahawks. I love what these guys did, man. I don't care about injuries to Garoppolo and to Kittle. Those things happen all the time, but they smashed those 49ers and made them look bad. That division for the 49ers, that time is up. I think Arizona is about to ascend. At number 2, all you guys got Kansas City? Man, I put Pittsburgh down at number 2. I thought it was a good game for them, but I also thought that it was a battle for them with Baltimore, which makes me think, if you're battling with Baltimore, what's going to happen when you have a team like Kansas City who can put up points on the fly? And that's who my number 1 is. I don't care that you guys beat the Jets. You did what you were supposed to do. You even did it more so. What? Mahomes, 400-something yards, 5 TDs? Come on, guys. How you guys not – come on. I know that Pittsburgh is nice, but Kansas City has that squad. I don't care if you lost 1 game to the Raiders. They got that squad right now to me, and they're hot. Let's get it.
Okay, so there you have it, our top 5 picks heading into week 9. That concludes our episode for today. Thank you so much for joining us on Touchdown with True Sports, brought to you by Pickups, your everything on demand delivery app. We'll see you next week.